Folks are coming in, getting settled and organized. So we'll take a couple of minutes to get settled. Okay, I think we will go ahead. So this is a big year for the US, I think we could say, and for the whole planet. But it's also a big year far, far beyond us in space. For one thing, we have an Earth-Mars alignment that happens only every 2 years. And as you may have noticed, we subsequently have many missions to Mars going on, 4 different countries just this year. Plus there's been an important Chinese mission to the moon. And that is not to mention the numerous commercial space flights. So at WorldBoston, our mission is to foster international engagement and global cooperation. And both of those certainly include human exploration of space. I just want to say to anyone today who's in grade school or even in college, what a universe of opportunities you will be unlocking. So I am thrilled to welcome you today. I am Mary Eitema, the president of WorldBoston, and we are talking now about way out of the box space entrepreneurship for young learners with Cohen Barzilay. This program is part of our virtual citizen diplomacy webinar series called International Exchange in a Time of Isolation. Even though we're at home, obviously, maybe even especially while we're at home, we strongly believe at WorldBoston that while our programs may be changing, our mission of international engagement must persist. So I hope you'll learn more about WorldBoston at worldboston.org. We'll have a reminder about this at the end today, but just want to flag looking ahead. Tomorrow, we're staying out in space. We'll look at the evolution of the US Space Force with US Air Force Lieutenant General William LaCory. And then we're back on Earth on October 14th. Looking at China's growing influence in Latin America. So we hope that you'll join us. We need your participation, and if you can help, your financial support to keep this essential mission going. So our talk today is presented together with the Consulate of Israel in New England, and we're so pleased that Consul General Ambassador Ze'ev Boker is here to help welcome everyone. He has had a diplomatic career spanning 3 decades. He has served as Israeli ambassador to Ireland and Slovakia, and since October 2018 as Consul General of Israel to New England. So Ambassador Boker.
Thank you, Mary. Good afternoon in New England and good evening to our listeners and viewers in Israel. On behalf of our consulate to New England, I would like to thank you, Mary, and our partners at WorldBoston for your collaboration on today's unique program featuring social entrepreneur Cohen Barzilay from Israel. This is our first webinar collaboration with WorldBoston, and we look forward to partnering in the future. As you know, Israel is a tiny country that has shown a remarkable capacity for innovation and problem solving. It has been called the startup nation. There are many theories, so why is the case? Over the course of our 72 years history, Israel has frequently found itself in challenging situations and forced inhabitants to come up with practical and creative solutions. The Science Accelerator project of Out of the Box is an example of bold attempt to engage young people in aviation and space, the next great frontier. And it does so through a partnership between Israel and American students. Moreover, the program has special emphasis on encouraging young women to cultivate a passion for science. Women, in fact, has been shown thrive in science and mathematics when given the opportunity and encouragement. You may recall the remarkable story depicted in the film Hidden Figures of the black female mathematicians who worked so successfully at NASA during the space race between the US and former Soviet Union in the 50s and the 60s. Israel has had its share of success in space exploration. We are so proud of our astronaut, the late Ilan Ramon, who served as a space shuttle payload specialist on the fatal Columbia mission in 2003. As a son of Holocaust survivors, Ramon brought a small Torah scroll rescued from a Nazi death camp into space to symbolize his strong ties to the Jewish people. The Israeli space industry is very proud of its development of its sophisticated OFEC reconnaissance satellite, first launched in 1988. This launch made Israel only the 8th nation in the world to gain an additional launch capacity. A little over a year ago, a private Israeli company, SpaceIL, successfully launched a Bereshit spacecraft that orbited the moon with the goal of taking pictures, conducting research. Unfortunately, its engine failed when it attempted to make a soft landing, an achievement only accomplished by the US, China, and former Soviet Union. Also disappointed with the outcome, Israeli felt great pride for having come so close and resolute in their determination to continue to develop the space research. And in the most current development of peace accord between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, future joint ventures concerning space research rank high on the agenda for mutual exploration. Space education and exploration is the embodiment of the Israeli spirit, and I am confident that the efforts of educational entrepreneurs like Cohen Barzilay will contribute greatly to future success for Israel in outer space. I applaud her important venture and the Israeli spirit of entrepreneurship that she clearly embodies. We've always been a tiny country with huge dreams, leading to significant achievement on the world stage. Shalom to you all, and I will now turn back to Mary.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Boker. Let's see, so we have a lot of interesting people who are involved in this program today. I want to do a couple of quick shout outs. You can't see them, but my colleagues in the citizen diplomacy team at WorldBoston are here. Josh Bruno is our mastermind. He's managing tech. And Sarah Sibley, of course, our vice president for citizen diplomacy. And who else is here? Meg McCarthy and Stefan Hendley and many others who are friends of WorldBoston. So thanks to the WorldBoston crowd. As you will hear, Vered was with WorldBoston through the US State Department's International Visitor Leadership Program, or IVLP, in 2016. So I want to say hello to I think some people who are with us right now, Mark Rebstock and Mary Sauerborn from Meridian International, who administered the visit, and also to folks at the State Department's Office of International Visitors, which coordinates this whole exchange. I also think, Vered, we have the liaisons who accompanied you on your visit to the US, and we have, I'm going to apologize, but I believe we have Sahan Basnayake, who was from Sri Lanka, who was in the same group with you. So the wonders of Zoom. I also think we have some attendees from the US Embassy in Israel, who also helped make Vered's trip possible. Wow, it really does take a village. Welcome, everybody. Josh, I think I just want to mention housekeeping quickly. I think you may have a visual aid on that. There we go. Very nice little depiction. The main thing to note is that questions are going to be via the Q&A box when we get to that portion. We won't be using the chat function for audience questions. All right, let's go. It is really a pleasure at last to introduce Vered Cohen Barzilay. She is an Israeli-born social entrepreneur and strong advocate for aviation, space, and science education. As we said, she visited WorldBoston, or visited Boston in May 2016 through WorldBoston in an IVLP media literacy project. So she was already a prominent journalist in Israel when she came to Boston, having founded the Novel Rights, Human Rights Literature Global Movement and the Women's Media Center Israel. She also co-founded the Israeli Chamber of Women Journalists. Now, after her visit to the United States, Vered turned to her passion for entrepreneurship, which led to developing the Out of the Box initiative. Last year, the first cohort of Israeli and American students made pitches to Silicon Valley executives through this program. This year, Vered was recognized through the Faces of Exchange initiative, which highlights the 80th anniversary of the State Department's IVLP program by showcasing 80 accomplished alumni throughout the history, recent history of this program, showcasing their lives and leadership and the impact of their exchanges on the global community. So congratulations, Vered, on that. It's really a distinction. So thank you for joining us today, Vered. I think we'll get into some questions, and then we'll have some cool video from you. So welcome once again to Boston, if only virtually. Are we doing the video?
Thank you very much for having me. And
we're doing the video now? No, we're doing it after. Okay. So you have such a fascinating background. You've been involved in a variety of initiatives, which make it hard to place you in, a box. So could you talk a little bit about this pathway to out of the box, maybe 2 or 3 important milestones? And then later, of course, we're going to talk more about out of the box specifically. So from journalist to entrepreneur.
yeah, well, I think that I've always been an entrepreneur, and everything that I've done, I try to look, outside of the box. The reason I choose my social entrepreneur as out of the box is because usually people refer to me as, oh, here's Vered, she has an out of the box thinking. So come over, give us your thoughts. And then when I was young, as a child, it was, I don't think that my school teacher really liked that. So they usually say, oh, you are out of the box. Can you be normal? Can you just think normal for once? So I think that at some point I said, I can't beat that, this is who I am. And now let's see what I can do with it. Those times, now I can see how much we need out of the box thinking, and we will refer to it later on in education. But trying to prepare myself to this session, I wrote myself all the list of things that I've done. It's a long list, I admit, and sometimes it looks like I'm not focused because it's different topics. But for me, everything is, comes together, and everything is really related to each other. But one of the things that I've noticed while writing it down, I've noticed that there is something that unites all of them. And it is, I think that I've been in most of the places, maybe the first or one of the few female that were in this in those positions. So I was one of the first internet writers in Israel. I was one of the first police reporters in Israel. I was, even during my military service, I served at intelligence. We've been taught how to do several stuff. And when I came to my military units, they said, okay, those stuff you can do because you are a woman. Those are just being saved to men or the men soldier. And I didn't like that. So I tried to do something, about that. And I went to my supervisors, and they just said, who are you? What are you doing here? You're just, just a small, I just joined the army, and it's not something that you do. So I used to wait every day in front of his office just to speak with him. And at some point, I think it was a month afterward, he said, you know what, come over. I can't do it anymore. And then I said, I mean, you taught us to do everything. thing. And then when we came over there, you said, no, this is just for women and this is just for men. I just want to have the possibility. It was something really boring, by the way, but I just wanted the possibility to do everything that, the job is offering me. And then I convinced him, and ever since now women are doing that. So I think that if I'm like, thinking I'm like mentor at Starburst, I was mentor at all kind of accelerators, and we can speak, later on about how the accelerators enter into my educational path.
So thanks. So there's really an arc there of pioneering as a woman, which of course is a we note in the U.S. as also a thread in Israeli society. So that's useful for us in the U.S. to think about. So here you are, a person who thinks out of the box since school. What was the spark of the idea for a space entrepreneurship program for young people? I imagine you did not just like sit up in bed one morning and say, that's it.
Well, it kind of happened like this. I have to admit.
All right.
I went to my daughter's school, and I was there, and there was an issue with her teacher, and I don't know, something happens to me, and I said, I don't want to argue anyone. I just want to bring myself. Maybe I have solutions. And I started thinking about that, and then I had the opportunity to go to the IVLP. So the IVLP was media literacy, and I was wearing the hat of journalist. And so when I went to the journey of the IVLP, which was 1 month journey and 5 states that we moved along, and I realized that I'm wearing a few hats. I had the human rights hats, and literature and human rights, and the hats of journalism. And then I have these other hats, and something inside of me said, this is what you need to do. But I didn't know if it just, it's just a spark of the moment, or maybe it's something that will start a path. And while being on the IVLP, first of all, I was a mother. I mean, I am a mother. I have 2 daughters, but because I was full-time a mother, and I had my career, I didn't have too much time, for myself. So the IVLP gives you the opportunity to be not a mother. For the first time in, I don't know, for a few years, I was just married, which I really liked. I remember even when I went down from the airport, for example, there was Linda waiting for me from the IVLP, and she held the sign named Vered, and I was like, finally, I'm not mother Vered, I'm just Vered. So I really like that. So I had time to think about all this thing, and then during the journey at the IVLP, I was like privileged to be with a group of wonderful people from 23 countries, which is, amazing. You are like experience a little earth, it's a season of the world. And then we visited so many sites, very interesting sites. And being at Boston, for example, I visited MIT. I loved MIT. I was like, if I had, if I could, go back to be a child and to pick, the school, the university that I want to go, it would most likely have been MIT, because they have the entrepreneurship spirits. And there was a, immediate click between me and the MIT. And I really stayed, afterward, I stayed in touch with some of the professors over there. And I think, yes, every state that I've visited was just gave me more, I think, more reasons to say, this is what you need to do. And when I went, back from my IVLP, I said, okay, so I got my answers. Now I just need to start working. And it was difficult. It was, very challenging and long work, but I knew what to do.
Great. So entrepreneurship is absolutely in the culture of Israel. It's also in the culture of the Boston area. And we have achievements in both countries in fields like life sciences, information technology, fintech, financial technology, et cetera. So you have this spark to do something as varied, not as mother of X or Y. There are so many vibrant areas for entrepreneurship today. How did you decide that space is what you needed to focus on?
Well, it happened as it started as I saw an opportunity for some funding, and I wanted to apply for that, and I applied for an entrepreneurship program, and then they said, but it needs to be something related to STEM, and I was like saying, okay, so it will be space. So it took me a while to understand that what I've said, like, you know, it was a spur of the moment. It wasn't. It was something that was built inside of me since I was a child, and I used to play with airplanes and with spaceships. And my husband studied astrophysics. So I realized that every step in my way was all related to space. And moreover, when I started thinking about how will school look like, in the future, what students need now and what I can give them that will provide them in the next 5 or 10 years, because what we know for sure is that not all the jobs that we recognize now will survive in the future. So we need to give them skills. But there is one issue, one topic that will not only not change, but will be very meaningful is space. So I think that space is it's the past, it's the present, and it's also the future. And as again, it started as something as if I thought about it very lightly. And then I realized how deep it is and how meaningful it is. And the more I taught about space, the more, and also teach myself, I realized how fascinating, and we are in a very blessed and amazing area in which we already have rovers on Mars. We are planning to have the first woman on the moon with Artemis mission. We are planning to put, people on Mars. So it's an amazing period to live in, and I really want the next generation to be part of it.
Great. So what do you imagine? I'm just having fun thinking with you. So what will be the university preparation of the future regarding space? I mean, right now it's astrophysics, I guess, but do you imagine people studying business in space or science in space? I have the feeling that you have probably thought about this.
Yeah, I love the way that space is now space for all. It's belonged to all of us, and it's wonderful. So you can be a designer on space, and you can be anything that you ever dreamed of. And what I really like is one of my programs is the Science Accelerator. So I'm offering the high school students to think about solutions that NASA and other government or private sector need for space. And what really, I think, joyful to see is the solutions they are coming, they are inventing. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm asking them, try to put yourself, what is your, interest? And I had one of the students that wanted to become a doctor. Now she wants to be a space doctor. So there are differences between just a doctor and how doctor will be on space. And there will be more, occupation that will be innovative, that will probably grow up as we will, occupy the moon and beyond and Mars. But some of them will have to fit themselves into space. So architecture, for example, they need to have other knowledge and skills that will be useful for Mars, for example. And there are many of the things, and I think that this is, and if you ask me, I don't know how university, if we will have university, don't don't say anyone that I've told that. But I don't know. I think that I'm just reading now a book about the Renaissance. It's a new book about the life of Leonardo da Vinci. So in many ways, we are now living the same period of the Renaissance, and we can be the Renaissance. Yeah. And we can be, those kids can be the Renaissance generation, and we don't need to limit them. We don't need to say space is all about physics, or space is, I mean, you can be whatever you want, and you can combine everything. You can combine your passion inside, and you can be Leonardo da Vinci. You can paint in space. You can be, I mean, we have astronauts. I mean, there are American astronauts that are also poets and writers and painters, and it fits wonderful, and also a photographer. So it's amazing that we can bring to space all those diversity of occupations.
Indeed, but I also know that that being said, that you have a particular interest in STEM, and particularly girls in STEM. So how does that fit into the Out of the Box initiative?
Yeah, well, STEM will be the basic that we will have to require. 90% of the future job will require STEM knowledge, and for now, the percentage are that there are only 30% of the women that study STEM. 22% that are working in the space industry. So if we are looking ahead, I was very worried when I looked at those numbers, and I said, I have to do something. And I just wanted to change that. And the way I change it is not that I'm approaching only females. So I'm not saying that all my programs just open for girls, but what I do is that I'm putting a lot of feminist approach in my programs. For example, they meet female role models, which is very important for girls and also for boys to see that there are very successful females, rocket engineers working at NASA and more. We are working in groups, so I'm giving extra points to mix groups, boys and girls together. I think that if we are talking about females and leadership, then it needs to come in, in harmony with men understanding the females' roles and accepting them. So we can't just work with the girls or just with the boys. We need to make them understand how privileged they can be by working together, men and female, male and females all together. And you know what, if we are thinking about space, space is all about that, because space over there, if you're thinking about the ISS, the International Space Station, there are female astronauts there working with men, sometimes for a month, sometimes for more almost a year. If we are thinking about Christina Koch, for example, she was there almost a year, and she had to find her way in a group of men and doing, building a community with all kinds of nationalities. There were Russian over there and from Emirates or, from Israel. So you have to get along with each other. And those are the future skills that our girls and boys need. More thing is that I'm also worried. I think that flying, for example, will be some, again, skills that the future generation will need. So we have flying cars and we have airplanes that are more accessible. So, and we don't have, I looked at the numbers and, I started almost to cry when I saw that. Less than 1%, female pilots in Israel, then, 5 girls pilots versus, 600 men in our national in El Al. And also in the US, it's 11%, I think, top. I think India is the top that has more female, but it's like 12%. Those are skills that are important. And this is why I put a focus on everything that I think that girls will be underrepresented.
Great. So as you can see, I've got lots of questions, but I understand that you have some visuals to help us understand what Out of the Box is doing. So maybe we'll take a look at that.
Okay.
I think Josh is queuing this up for us. Hopefully we'll get some sound. I'm not sure we're getting sound.
No.
Let's try again.
Sorry about that. 1 second.
No problem.
All right. How about now?
We were presented with an opportunity and we said yes. We just said yes every time they asked. It wasn't always easy. It wasn't simple to make happen, but we just kept saying yes.
The Science Accelerator project offers the opportunity for young people to think about the products and innovations that are required for long-term space colonization. It's a collaborative project where both Israeli and American students work together to answer the questions that pose long-term space travel.
I think that everything that I've done until now in my life just come together, and this project is really one of the projects that I'm very much proud of. So we are here with 8 students, 10th grade, from Shimon Bet Zvi High School in the city of Givatayim in Israel.
I'm Odem Eitam. I'm 15 and I'm from Israel. My favorite part about going here to the US is actually seeing a different culture than I used to. So my favorite part about going to NASA Ames is the part that we present our projects to Jacob. On one hand, it was really fun, and on the other hand, it was really scary, and I was really nervous.
When the students get that they could actually, if they invest time, find something new, invent something, they get so excited. So that is the importance of why NASA and all educators and all of us have a responsibility for the next generation. The more we are able to work together, the more we could advance science, technology, and humanity as a whole, even on Earth here. Now it comes with work, with understanding. It's not easy. You guys here at the school, the 2 teams, have worked hard to make that happen. So every time you see this type of thing going around, you're always amazed at how difficult you thought it would be, and then when people decided to actually do it, how rewarding it is.
My favorite Hebrew word is אפשר, which means possible, because I just think that everything is possible if you really try hard.
Wow, fantastic. Josh, you can put me back on, or I'll put myself back on. Or we have, okay, so now we have some slides, I guess, Farah, that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, well, the video clip that you've seen is part of the Science Accelerator, and as you can see, the last sentence of Tamar, she said that everything is possible, and I think that if you're asking me what is my greatest achievement or what will be my greatest achievement, is that every boy or girl will think that everything is possible, and of course, I'm not living, not attached to this world. I know that not everything is possible, but at least we will dare to dream that it's possible. And this is very important to me. And because of my very amazing experience with the IVLP, when I started thinking about this program, the first year it was just an Israeli program, and the second year I said, so one of the most component is NASA, of course. Dr. Jacob Cohen that you've seen, he's the chief scientist of NASA Ames, and you've seen him speaking at this video clip. He's the very close advisor to this program and to me in specific. And he was brought by the US Embassy in Israel. Ellen Schnitzer, she's the one that's responsible in Israel to the IVLP and more things. She's also responsible on STEM. And one day I called her and I said, there is an Israeli Space Week, and can you do me a favor? I'm looking for an astronaut. It's like you can have, a favor from friend to invite an astronaut. It was like something not really out of the world to ask, but I mean, yeah, I was lucky, and we had a wonderful visit at one of our schools, our high schools. Dr. Eugene Tu, the NASA Ames director, and Dr. Jacob Cohen, both of them came over, and we started working with them, and they gave me, and especially Dr. Cohen, gave me a lot of support and met the students. And at the second year, I asked him, I want to put the peer-to-peer learning. Now, why? Because when I'm thinking about, again, the future working market, then we know that there will be impossible. I mean, even now it's impossible to be attached from the world. Everything, you see the pandemic, for example, the COVID-19, it started in China and then it spread to the entire world. This is how business is working. This is how everything is working now in the world. And we need to train our students, both Israeli, Americans, and whatever they are in the world, how to live in this kind of, ecosystem. And it was very important to me to put it over there. But what I didn't realize is the friendships that they will build later on. I thought that I was hoping that they will gain some friendships. And I remember when they came back and they were even hosting families, and some of the students said, we have a second mother and she's American. And I thought, I mean, it's really fantastic. So you have Israeli and Americans studying together as the normal lessons. And sometimes, I mean, at the beginning, the Israeli really embarrassed to speak in English because it's not an English mother language, and usually the schools in Israel don't allow them to practice too much their speaking. But then you see that sometimes they don't need the language to bond with each other. They started, working together, planning their programs together, having future dreams together. I think that's really a blast, and for now we will open the fourth program this after the Jewish holidays now, and we are hoping to gain more cities like Boston, of course, more schools that will want to be engaged to Israeli students and this kind of.
So what happens for a young person who is in this program? They're studying in their own country. I imagine that they have a lot of, well, I suppose once we're past the pandemic or before the pandemic, they're studying in their own country, probably having a certain amount of exchange on the internet, and then they all travel to the Ames Research Center. Is that the kind of highlight of the experience?
Yeah, we have a competition. So they have semi-competition that happen in their country. So it's a hybrid program in which part of it they are studying alone and part of it they are studying with their American teams. The competition, the final competition is, at least this is what we have done the 2 years before. We visited NASA Ames together, and they did their pitch. The approach to the students is like they are grown-ups. So they have to make their business pitch of their innovative space solution. They have time frame. They can't go more than 6 minutes. They need to know how to present that. They need to know how to make a proper presentation, how to work with 3D printers. There are certain levels that they have to require, skills that they have to require in order to do so. What was fascinating is that we tried something new in the last competition when it was held in last May, and we had a sister group. So it was Israeli group, the competition was between mixed groups, Israeli, Americans group, and then we had the sister groups, Israeli and the Americans groups, that were basically fighting each other or competing each other. But they got so close to each other. So, and it came from the students themselves. Then they said, we want to practice together. We want to present them, to pitch them. And then they started to give some feedbacks to each other. They said, you know what, we think that we can improve your presentation. And then that was before the competition. Now think about that. This is not something, I don't think that we are training them not to win, okay? So everybody wants to win. But the friendship means so much to them. Then what they did is that they said, we want our friends to be, as good as we are. And it was vice versa. It wasn't belong to one side or the other. So at the end, the American group won the competition between the sister groups that we matched together. So the American groups won the third place, and the Israeli groups that were their sister match didn't win anything. And I remember that very clearly, that they wrote to me. We did it online because the COVID was over there. They wrote, Vered, we want to write them a message because we feel that we are sharing them, if they won, it's like we won as well. And we want to, And then when they approached them, the Americans said, we are sharing this, this winning together with you. And that was, so moving. And this is the hope that, I'm taking with me from this program and every program that
we'll take that hope right into space. We hope that we can keep that attitude beyond this, or learn that attitude beyond this planet. So let us go to some questions. I'll come back. Hello. We have a number of questions here. So we have someone who starts off, Shalom, Vered. If you are thinking of one of the most significant benefits for an American school who's thinking about this, of taking part, what would it be? So an American school is thinking about joining up.
Yeah, well, I thought about space. I mean, you have so many opportunities in terms of space, much more than what we have in Israel. On the other hand, I think the peer-to-peer learning, that is a wonderful process. And it's not just, and again, it's not normal, it's not a conservative way to learn. It's different way. They really enjoy each other. They work independently. They are responsible for their product, for example. So I think that if I'm thinking is that the friendships, the peer-to-peer learning and the independent learning, that is all the skills that are very important.
Great. Okay, so let's see, we've got a couple different ones here. So as you actually mentioned at the top, now, of course, Israel and the UAE have an accord now, and of course, Emirates launched the Mars orbiter this year. Are you thinking about maybe a partnership between an Israeli and a UAE school?
Well, you said thinking, I'm on it right now.
Okay,
There's no time to think. Yes, I have already friends that one of them I was lucky to meet at my IVLPs from Bahrain. So we waited for the peace process to be announced formally, and we will definitely collaborate, but also I already approached the people. I think that, okay, so in one of my vision, I have one of my programs is Astrobox, and it's basically teaching high school students how to build nanosatellites, a CubeSat. And so my vision is to have a Middle East CubeSat. So the Israeli and the Emirates will, learn together, everyone in their schools, but also joining together. And then they will, each of one build other part of the nanosatellites, and then when they meet each other, hopefully on the US land, they can be associated with each other and also hopefully launch their nanosatellites. So this is one of my I mean, I know it sounds a little bit wild now, but wild is where I live, so I really
Wild
I really
is where I live. I love that. And I love it that I think we often see this with exchanges and human relationships that, you know, the people are ahead of government processes. So you're already thinking about this with one of your colleagues on the exchange from the UAE. That's really cool. Okay, let's see. We've got more questions. This is a different question about not about space specifically, but as we've seen, you've done different things. You are an entrepreneur, which is can be a difficult road. What is some of the most important advice that you got as you were moving along this path?
advice to people.
You.
I think
That you received. Yeah.
wow, that I received from other people.
Yeah.
Wow. First of all, I'm always open to advisors. So I'm an advisor collector. Okay, I really like to collect advisors, and I think this is not something, I don't know if it's an advice, but I want to show you something. I hope that you will see that. Oh, it's not allowing me. Okay.
Yeah, in front of your face.
This is, yes, this is a bracelet that I've been given for my students, and they wrote over there, "Dare to Dream." So I used to say that a lot, "Dare to Dream," and then they, when I was like, I think, running the program, the first year was very difficult and challenging, and then having the first delegation to the US was challenging, and I had some moments in which I had my concerns and I had my doubts, and they came to me and they gave me these bracelets and said, "Dare to Dream," and then I realized that this is the most important advice, that if you will dare to dream, you will dare to fulfill it.
That is excellent advice indeed. Okay, so let's see. We've got the questions are coming in. Okay, yeah. So this is a detail question, which is important. It's important to dream, but it's also important to make things happen here on Earth, as you said. So somebody is wondering, how the schools come into the program, how you partner them, and how to create these partnerships if somebody is interested, how they get funded, and then finally, how is this all working in the pandemic?
Yeah, well,
so detailed questions.
Yeah. I have to say, since I'm a social entrepreneur and it is a social entrepreneurship, then it's not about the money. It's about changing helping the educational system to change and to be fit themselves into the future needs. If schools are interested in this program, then they just need to approach me. They can do it through my website. It's a scienceaccelerator.space. And what I usually do is then we are matching a group of students with a group of students here in Israel. We have everything. We have all the materials that they need and all the supports to the teachers and also to the students. And of course, there is this the lessons that are being taught together. What I'm always trying to do is that if I see some funding opportunity, then I'm even helping or at least giving them my support to apply for a funding. If I have funding, I'm always sharing that. So my aim is not to make money. My aim is to make change. So I don't, if school have some money issues, don't hesitate and approach, and we will find a way to do it, especially in the US.
Especially in the US. All right, that's good to hear. So Dare to Dream, you just said that. Let's think about the Out of the Box initiative, about young learners in space entrepreneurship 10 or 20 years from now. What What would you like to see?
Well, let me calculate. 10 years from now, we
Here,
are
pick a number.
hoping. No, I'm just saying that we might reach to, it depends who you ask. If you ask NASA, we'll probably not be on Mars, but if you ask Elon Musk, then we probably will get there. So I think that at least I have some of my students, you know, visiting space or one of the space hotels because they will be very rich doing their exit, and or at least being on the moon or being on Mars. I do hope, I mean, if I'm thinking about what I hope Out of the Box will be spread into, you know, as many as states in the US, and we will have very happy students from the globe, you know, learning together. As said, I do hope that they will move on to have more professional studying in their university or whatever it will be called, it will be named in 10 years from now. I hope to see them working in space agencies like Israeli agency or NASA, but also having their own space companies. That is my dream, but I can go wilder if you want.
That's a great dream. I think my colleagues are putting into the chat box information about the program and how folks can learn about enrollment. So people, if you're curious, do have a look at that.
I just want to say something because we talked about girls and space. So there is a program that I'm one of the mentors. It's a UN program. It calls UNUSA program. It calls Space for Women. I highly recommend, if you are looking for information or mentors or programs that promote female to space, then go and check it. You just can write Space for Women and you can reach there. It's a wonderful program and I'm very grateful to be part of the mentors over there.
Do you expect, Vered, that you will go to space? Is that going to happen, you know, in the foreseeable future?
Well, if you would ask me like a year ago if I would study, even not just study, go on an airplane, a little airplane and fly it on myself, I would have said never. But I've done that and it was amazing. And now I'm even studying, you know, to become a pilot. And okay. So I think, yes. I think that, but I want to do it in the classic way. So if you want to invite me, choose one of the commercial flights when we have all the accessories, because I really like that. And to go to the, I don't know how much it costs. It's $20 million to have 10 days, between 20 and 40 million to have 10 days at the space hotel. So yes, if I can dare to dream, I will do it this way. But you know what? Even if you can find me a place on one of NASA's spaceship, then I will go ahead with that as well. I can settle on that as well.
Nice. Okay. All right. So yeah, so we have in our chat, we have information about the program. I guess we're just going to take probably one more question and then we're going to have to wrap up. Yeah, this is a big picture question. How important is it? And we've been talking about STEM, but you know, you come from a journalism background. Tell me a little bit about the relationship between culture and science and how that's important to our future in space.
Culture and science, meaning, can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, culture in the sense of arts, humanities, non-STEM disciplines. Do we need that stuff in order to be successful in space?
I think that we need that not just in space. I think that the way we divided STEM to be something that is not related to art, that was something very strange that we have done. We have done something that it's not meant to be. STEM need to be together, the STEM with the art. And everything that we do, I mean, think about that. If you think about Albert Einstein, for example, so he played the violin and he really liked literature. His sister was a writer. So he used his imagination, and the way that we practice our imagination, the way we even go on the road is we gain that through writing, through literature, through art. So art is something very important. But if I'm going again very far, and let's say that, for example, we will have the first colony on Mars, then they will need everything. I mean, everything will be altogether related because, I mean, everything will be science over there. Even music needs science. And so I do think that it's very good that we are now combining them together. And again, if I'm thinking about the Renaissance, that is what I'm thinking about, and this is my vision. And by the way, at first, when the first version of the Science Accelerator was a program. The first name was the Renaissance Children. So I went back to the Renaissance and I said, this is what we need, and yes, definitely.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, the Renaissance generation, that's one of the best things I've heard in months. I'm afraid, unfortunately, that we have got to wrap this up. I thank you very much, Vered, and for all the people who made your visit to Boston possible so that we got to know you. We have a slide up now. If you like this session, please come tomorrow because we're going to have a different perspective on space with General William LaCourie of the U.S. Air Force, and then back on Earth, October 14th, China's road into Latin America. So Vered, if wild is where you live, I hope to see you there sometime soon. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you everybody who joined our webinar today. Have a great day.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.
Okay.